What is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? So we're still in the mix of the NBA playoffs, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself today. And we're going to be discussing one thing I would like to see each NBA team do here in the 2020 offseason. Now, some teams might have more than one thing, but I want to at least give one idea I would like to see a team make in the offseason. Either it's via trade, drafting, or free agency. This offseason isn't going to be as exciting as the 2019 offseason was, but I'm still going to come up with ideas, trades, drafting, and free agency ideas I would like to see each NBA team make in the offseason. And without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the thing I would like to see them do most in this offseason is draft Anthony Edwards. Don't overthink this. Don't draft LaMelo Ball. It will not be a good fit with him next to D'Angelo Russell. Both these players are similar in play style. They like their ball in their hands. They like to be the main focus point of the offense, and they don't play much defense. I just don't think it will work out whatsoever drafting LaMelo Ball in Minnesota. Take Anthony Edwards. Have your backcourt of the future of D'Lo and Edwards. And just another bonus one, I would like to see them add a power forward next to Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't know who that power forward could be, but as long as they can space the floor or play a little bit of defense, I think that's what you need in Minnesota. So mainly I want them to get Anthony Edwards and don't screw the pickup, but then also get a power forward that they can play next to Cat. Moving over to Golden State, we are going to say draft James Wiseman at 2. Don't overthink this as well. Don't take LaMelo Ball. It would not be a good fit in Golden State. I would also like to see them use their trade exception from the Andre Iguodala trade in the 2019 offseason, because they can get kind of creative with that, I think, $15 million option. Have Curry and Clay in your backcourt, have Wiggins at the 3, Draymond at the 4, Wiseman at the 5, and maybe use that exception to get a good bench player for next year and go and try to win a championship again. Moving over to Charlotte now, I really haven't decided what I really want them to do at 3. I think it's LaMelo Ball, and I think that is the right draft pick to make if Edwards and Wiseman goes 1 and 2, but they can figure that out on their own. My wish for them in the offseason is for them to get a good starting center, somebody better than what Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo have been for them in recent years. And I mean, in a perfect world, they would have ended up with James Wiseman, but I don't think he's going to be available there at 3. You could take a Okongwu or look to trade down and hope to get a Okongwu a little bit later in the draft while getting another asset. I think that could be a good solution, but I don't think you pass up on LaMelo for a Okongwu. But I just think getting a good starting center, somebody better than Cody Zeller and somebody you can maybe have a future with PJ Washington in the front court, I think that's what I want Charlotte to do. For Chicago, it's going to be find the right head coach. They have the 4th overall pick. They got lucky in the lottery. They don't have any specific needs on their starting lineup. Yes, they do have Kobe White and LaVine in the backcourt. They have Markkanen Carter Jr. in the front court. Small forward, it could be Denny Avdija in that spot. It could be Isaac Okoro, somebody to replace Otto Porter post-2021. But mainly, I want them to make this head coach situation right. They messed it up so badly with Jim Boylan, and it wasn't much better with Fred Hoiberg previously. So I think you either get Ime Udoka from the Philadelphia 76ers or you get the former Nets coach Kenny Atkinson. You get one of those two guys, they develop your team. You don't try to make any crazy splashes that don't work out with Jason Kidd or Tyronn Lue. I think you go Udoka, you go Atkinson, and you go from there. So we're moving on to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the one thing I want to see them do in the 2020 offseason is trade Kevin Love. They're going to be bad again next year. They need to hit on their draft pick at 5, but I think if they can get just some asset for Kevin Love, either it's a young player that still has some potential or a future first-round pick, if they can get something for K-Love, I think you do it. And Andre Drummond, he might be leaving in 2021. They still have 2 young players in Garland and Sexton. You could maybe draft a Love replacement with Obi Toppin at 5. It could be maybe Denny Avdija. Either way, I think they should just look and try to acquire an asset for Kevin Love. Atlanta Hawks, they need one thing, and they need somebody to play next to Trae Young. Preferably somebody that's really good on the defensive side of the ball, because they have their center in Clint Capella, they have their power forward in John Collins, they have their small forwards at the moment in Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter, they obviously have their franchise player at the point guard position in Trae Young. They need somebody to play next to Trae Young. Now, doesn't matter if it's through the draft or through trade, they want to go after Victor Oladipo, or if they want to draft an Isaac Okoro or Tyrese Halliburton. You just get that shooting guard or that number 2 that can play next to Trae Young in the backcourt and help him on the defensive side of the ball. Either, like I said, it's Halliburton, Okoro, or maybe they go out and acquire somebody via trade. I don't know if that could be an Oladipo or that might just be somebody I'm throwing out there. Either way, I want to see them get somebody that they can play next to Trae Young in the next year's season. Moving on to the Detroit Pistons, and I really want them to draft Killian Hayes. They're going to be bad next year. They really are, and they're probably going to be bad for just a couple years. And they do have Luke Kennard, they have Sekou Doumbouya, they have Christian Wood, but I would really like to see them get that point guard that they can develop and be their point guard for the future, and I think that is Killian Hayes. They're actually in a pretty good situation where Killian doesn't need to start right away. He could be playing behind Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose can be his mentor and help him get through kind of the struggles of being a rookie point guard, which if it's very hard for players as point guards coming in through the draft to be good right away. That's what makes like Ja Morant so impressive. So I really want to see them draft Killian Hayes, develop him, have Derrick Rose be his mentor. Number 8 for the Knicks. Basically, don't screw up your draft pick. But no, I'm actually going to make it acquire shooters this offseason. Either it's Devin Vassell or Cole Anthony. I think either one of those two options, they're going to be pretty good shooters in the NBA. So I'm cool with either Vassell or Cole Anthony at 8, but mainly get shooters to play around Mitchell Robinson and RJ Barrett. You don't need Julius Randle taking the most threes per game on your team. You really don't. And I think in a perfect world, they were able to trade Julius Randle, but I don't know what team wants him. But either way, I think you let go of these non-shooters. Like, even though Bobby Portis can somewhat shoot, let him go. Taj Gibson can be a fine backup center. Maybe if you want to bring back Reggie Bullock or Wayne Ellington, sure. Elfrid Payton, I don't know. Mo Harkless, I don't know either. But I think they just need to acquire shooters this offseason to make it easier for RJ and Mitch Rob. Moving on to the Wizards now, the worst defensive team in the 2020 season. So obviously, I want them to add defense here throughout the 2020 offseason. I expect them to bring back Davis Bertans, so they kind of need to hit on this draft pick at 9 because they really don't have a lot of cap flexibility. So it's either Onyeka Okongwu or Devin Vassell at 9. You could also go the Patrick Williams route. I don't expect Isaac Okoro to be there at 9, but if they can get Okongwu, I think would be huge. I don't know if he falls to 9, but I think Devin Vassell or Patrick Williams has a better shot. So just add defense either way, draft a good defensive prospect because they desperately need it. Phoenix at 10, I would like them to either acquire the power forward for the future next to DeAndre Ayton or their point guard for the future. So point guard could be from the draft. It could be a Tyrese Halliburton, it could be a Killian Hayes, could be a Kyra Lewis, could be a Cole Anthony. One of those 4 I would be happy with. Obi Toppin probably isn't going to fall to 10 on draft night. I don't know if they would want to trade up. I would also like to see them maybe explore trading options for Aaron Gordon of the Orlando Magic because I think they should trade Aaron in this offseason. I'll talk about that more when I talk about the Orlando Magic. But I would really like to see them acquire that power forward, somebody maybe with more potential and upside next to Aiden than like a Dario Saric or a Cam Johnson. San Antonio are going to have their highest draft pick since they drafted Tim Duncan number 1 overall here. So I mainly want them to draft offense for the future, preferably not a backcourt member because they have a crowded backcourt right now with DeJounte Murray, Lonnie Walker, Derek White, Bryn Forbes, Patty Mills. It's going to be really hard for a new rookie that is a point guard or shooting guard to find minutes on this team. So mainly, I would like to see them get an asset for DeMar DeRozan if they can. Call up a team like Orlando or somebody that needs offense that would maybe just give you a high second round pick or a late first, just something for DeMar DeRozan, who's probably not going to be a Spur in the 2022 season. But at 11, I would really like to see them land an Aaron Nesmith. I think he would be a perfect option, a perfect successor to DeMar DeRozan, and that's what I want to see San Antonio do. Sacramento, I think I want to see them trade Buddy Hield this offseason. I think his value might be at an all-time high for some teams, like the Philadelphia 76ers. If you could somehow get Josh Richardson and a first-round pick for Buddy Hield, I think that's good value. If it's the 21st pick, I think you still take it. You hope to maybe extend Josh Richardson, but hey, you get Buddy Hield's pretty big contract off your hand. He's already 27, so I think just getting assets for Buddy Hield when his value might be at an all-time high, you got to do so. And a team that might overpay for shooting like the Philadelphia 76ers, you call them up, try to get a first-round pick, maybe try to get 2, and Josh Richardson, I don't think you could say no to that. Pelicans here, I would like to see them draft a backup point guard. Somebody that could maybe replace Lonzo Ball down the line because Lonzo will be a restricted free agent in 2021. They're going to have to pay Zion in a couple of years. You might not want to give Lonzo $20 million or you might want to save that. So if they could draft somebody at 13 like a Kyra Lewis or a Cole Anthony, I think that would be huge for that team going forward. So that's what I would like to see New Orleans do. Moving on to Memphis, I would mainly like to see them keep their core, but I wouldn't be opposed to see them going after kind of shooting wings in free agency. Maybe like an Evan Fournier, a Danilo Gallinari, a Bogdan Bogdanovic, some wing that they can add to that team because I don't know if Winslow is going to be the answer at the small forward position. So I wouldn't mind them going after somebody else in free agency. Orlando, I would like to see get offense in the 2020 offseason. Either that's DeMar DeRozan, I don't know, somebody that can score the basketball because they need help on the offensive end. But I would also like to see them trade Aaron Gordon. They have their centers in Vucevic and Bamba, but mainly at the power forward spot, I'd like to see Jonathan Isaac. Now, it sucks with Isaac's torn ACL that I don't even know when we're going to see him next, but I just don't like the fit of Isaac and Aaron Gordon. So I think if you can get something good for Aaron Gordon, you do so in this offseason. Portland, They need wing help. Either it's going to be through the draft, Patrick Williams, Precious Achiuwa, Devin Vassell, Aaron Nesmith. If they can land one of those guys, or even Sadiq Bey, I think would be huge for them. Maybe I would like to see them trade CJ McCollum for a good wing player. If you saw in my rebuild or in my trade video, I did mention OG Anunoby. I don't think that would happen. I don't think Toronto would even agree to that. But I would like to see them get wing help. They have Gary Trent Jr., they have McCollum at the 2, but maybe get a small forward like a Nesmith, a Vassell, a Sadiq Bey from the draft. For Brooklyn, I think I would like to see them trade Karis LeVert or Spencer Dinwiddie and get a true power forward on that team. You're going to have your centers in Jordan and Allen. You have your small forward in Kevin Durant and Joe Harris. You have Kyrie Irving at the point guard position. But at guard, you're doing pretty good. If you think Joe Harris might be more of a 2 or even a 3, you have good wing depth in Joe Harris. They have Karis LeVert, obviously, and then they have their backup point guard would be a top 15 point guard and a starting point guard on most teams in Spencer Dinwiddie. So I think you kind of look at the market. You maybe call up Orlando. They do Dinwiddie for Aaron Gordon. Might not be the worst trade for the Nets in the world. Next team is the Dallas Mavericks, and I would like for them to mainly add some defense onto this team. Obviously, I would like to see them draft Pokusevski in the draft with their 18th overall pick, but I think adding defense, getting better defenders on this team, because Dorian Finney-Smith is one of kind of the only good perimeter defenders on that team, so adding somebody else I think would be huge for them. Philadelphia 76ers are our next team, and mainly get shooting. Either it's Buddy Hield, Evan Fournier, someone that could shoot the ball and just help out Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. You do so. And mainly, the number one thing should be for them is trading Al Horford. Now, if they can get Buddy Hield, great. If they can get a Chris Paul, that would be amazing. But I think you just got to end up trading Al Horford and get shooting on this team. For Miami, I would like to see them draft kind of a backup point guard that will one day be kind of the successor of Goran Dragic. Just they have Kendrick Nunn at the moment, but I don't think it would hurt them to really draft a Trey Jones, Cassius Winston, a Peyton Pritchard, a Tyrell Terry in the 2020 draft. For OKC, I would like to see them capitalize on Chris Paul's trade value. He was just an all-star. He might be on an All-NBA team. His value isn't going to get any higher from now because he has a couple years left on his massive contract. But if a team is willing to give you assets for him, I think you agree to it. If somehow Philly offers you a first-round pick and Matisse Thybulle, but you have to take on the Al Horford contract, I think you still do it. And I would also like to see them add a small forward either through the draft or free agency. For Houston, it's weird because they really don't have any salary cap. They're getting older. They don't really have any good young players. I would like to see them trade into the first round in the draft. I don't know what they can give up. I don't know if it's a player or they can give up just multiple second-round picks, but I would like to see them draft somebody and actually develop somebody because every year they trade their first-round pick. So I would like to see them somehow get into the late first round, get somebody, and actually use that said draft pick. For Utah, they definitely need bench help now. That could be through the draft, that they maybe end up with like a Theo Maledon or a Sadiq Bey, somebody that can come off the bench, or a Josh Green and just score the basketball. I think that's what they need. They don't really need a specific position off the bench, just anybody off the bench that can provide some offensive help. Indiana, it's interesting. I would like to see them make a big move. Now, for their head coach, apparently they're going to go after Mike D'Antoni, and I wouldn't be opposed to that. But I wouldn't mind seeing them not blowing it up, but looking at the trade market for either Domantas Sabonis or Victor Oladipo and seeing what you can get. I like TJ Warren, I like Malcolm Brogdon, I like Miles Turner a lot. But I think for Sabonis, he's coming off an all-star season. Maybe look to move him or Oladipo before Oladipo might leave you in 2021. So I think if they can get assets for Oladipo, you might start listening. Denver, they just kind of need, I think, that second star next to Jokic. Now, Jamal Murray is great, and I think he can be your second option on a good team. And that's basically what they are now. But I would like to see them trade Michael Porter Jr. this offseason. Make a championship move, call up Washington, give them Michael Porter Jr. a first, Gary Harris for Bradley Beal. I think you do that, and I think you'll actually be a championship contender next year. Do it, Denver. Boston, mainly just add another center. Doesn't have to be a starting caliber center. Daniel Tice can still be your starting center. Just get somebody through your 3 draft picks in the draft. I do plan on them trading one of those draft picks, but if they can end up with a Precious Achiuwa, a Zeke Naji, a Vernon Carey, Isaiah Stewart, just one of those guys, draft them here in the 2020 draft, Boston. The Clippers don't have much to work with here in the 2020 offseason, but I would like to see them kind of re-sign their guys. If they can end up with Montrezl Harrell back and Marcus Morris, I think that would be a successful offseason. Like the Utah Jazz, the LA Lakers need some scoring off the bench. Now, if that can come through the draft and they can get like a Jamius Ramsey or a Cassius Winston, you do so. They're not really going to have a lot of salary cap to work with, and Danny Green is still making a lot of money, so I think they really need to ace their draft pick at 28. Toronto, I think just stay the course. Bring back Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol on one-year deals. Maybe look to trade Kyle Lowry, but you really don't have to. I think they just don't. My main thing for them, don't give out any contracts or commit to any more money post-2021. Have a clean slate in 2021 for that free agency to maybe make a play for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And then finally, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. Get Giannis to an extension. But yeah, that is going to be for me. I hope you guys enjoyed kind of my wishes and suggestions for each team to do here in the 2020 offseason. Let me know if you disagree or agree with anything I said in the comments below, or you could let me know anything that I didn't mention. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy it. Drop a like if you guys did enjoy the video. I will have, I think, 2 more or 3 more 2K20 videos, and then we're getting right into 2K21. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.